The Rams should either trade for this edge rusher or sign this high upside edge rusher. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams.
You are Locked On Rams, your daily Los Angeles Rams podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Ramley, and welcome to another episode of Locked On Rams, your daily podcast covering your Los Angeles Rams. Free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We're also available over on YouTube, where we just hit 12,000 subscribers. Thanks to you guys out there. So if you haven't yet, we'll be covering all things Los Angeles Rams free agency, draft all year, 24/7, 365. So you don't want to miss a thing. So definitely hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, hit that like button, and let us know, who do you think the Rams should sign for their edge rushers? Should they draft the edge rusher? Should they trade for one? What should they do at the edge rusher position? And we're going to talk about that on today's episode. But first, this episode of Locked On Rams is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code Locked On for $20 off your first purchase. And of course, my name is Doug McCain. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. And I'm joined by the People's Champ, as always, Mr. Travis Rogers. You can follow him at Travis Rogers. Now, Travis, we're going to dive right into this one. So one of the big pressing needs for this Rams team this offseason is adding an edge rusher. And there was some talk, maybe they go big game hunting, sign one of the premium free agents in Danielle Hunter. He signed a big deal with the Texans. Then maybe there was some hope that they could get Khalil Mack in the Hornets. He's restructuring his deal. He's going to be back with the Chargers. So we're going to talk about some of these options, but I think kind of the first lead here is, do the Rams go out there and possibly make a trade for a Haason Reddick? Do they maybe sign a Chase Young? Do they go and maybe draft an edge rusher at 19, maybe a Jared Verse type out of Florida State? I think that's one of the big decisions that they're going through right now.
Yeah, I think Reddick is interesting, right? Because it seems like he's been available for a while, that the Eagles have kind of had him out front, and you know they're taking offers, and that he hasn't moved yet. It means one of two things. It means they're either asking way too much, which means no one's going to do it, or maybe his value isn't quite what the Eagles are hoping, and people are making their phone ring. There are still options. And look, this is kind of me being a broken record here a little bit, and the everydayers will certainly sound familiar here, is I'm okay with them being patient, because if they make the deals they want to make, they don't make the deals that they have to make. I think that's where bad teams get in trouble, with the idea that, hey, we need an edge guy. Okay, here are the three guys that are left. Even though we don't love them, we got to go get one because we have a deficiency at that particular position. Rams don't really operate like that. The way that they've operated under Sean McVay is, we might need a guy at that position, but we don't like any of those three guys. We're going to wait. We'll see what shakes loose later. We'll wait and see what shakes loose in the draft. We'll wait and see what shakes loose once the season starts, that players become available during the season that are not available right now. And I admire their patience. I admire their ability to kind of sit back and say, okay, you know, you look at the guy, the Chase Youngs and the Reddicks and these sorts of guys, and say, look, we might like those guys at a price that works for us, but we're not going to pay a premium just because we may not be in love with what we have. We're willing to wait. And I think that's almost always the right idea.
Yeah, and this organization is always going to be calculated. They're not going to force their way into anything. They're going to try to go out there and address their needs, but they're going to do it in a practical way, a sensible way. They're not going to just get a guy to get a guy because they know they need to fill that need. They're not going to overpay for someone either. If they loved Danielle Hunter, I think there's a good chance he would be a Ram right now. But I don't think they absolutely loved him to the point where they thought, okay, at that price, maybe not. Like we talked about, he looks like a superhero comic book character, but doesn't always perform like one. So I think for them, it's kind of balancing that. But you mentioned a name that I love the possibility, it could be their best option right now, and that is Haason Reddick. And Rappaport, he mentioned a couple days ago that the Eagles have given Reddick permission to go out there and explore trades, and he's in the final year of his 3-year deal. His cap hit is $21.3 million. If the Rams were to trade for him, they would absorb that $15.5 million in a cap hit. And you look at that, I mean, look, $15.5 million, cheaper than Burns. That's cheaper than a Josh Allen trade if it were to happen, which is not. It would have been cheaper than Daniel Hunter. So you're looking from a value standpoint and how that aligns with some of the primes of an Aaron Donald and a Matthew Stafford and a Cooper Kupp. And it makes a ton of sense if they want to go that route.
It does. It does if they think he's the right guy for the job, right? If they believe that he can come in and do what they need him to do, then it's the cost, I don't think, to your point, D-Mac, is terribly prohibitive. But maybe they're thinking, okay, it's not a perfect fit. Maybe with Chris Shula's new defense, they've got a certain type of guy in mind. I don't know. I'm speculating at this point. It also may speak to their comfort with Byron Young's development, that as he continues to get better, they may think that he's able to kind of up his game a little bit along the way. I know we're going to talk about Michael Hoechst coming up here in a little bit as well. Maybe they think he's getting ready to kind of take that next step along the way, and they might try some in-house solutions before they go shopping. And like you said off the top, and I think it's a really good point, if the Rams really wanted one of these guys, I think they'd be here already, because they do have the resources, they do have the picks, they do have the ability to kind of move around if that's in fact what they want to do. But I think they're looking for the right deal, not the next deal. And the fact that they've been this cautious and patient leads me to believe that they're waiting for something very specific to shake loose.
Absolutely. And you mentioned some of the talent on this team too, and guys like Michael Hoechst and Byron Young, well, also Aaron Donald, right? When you have Aaron Donald, you don't necessarily need the 10 out of 10 guy, because he makes a 7 out of 10 guy play like an 8 or 9 out of 10 guy in certain plays, right? You can benefit from that. We saw with Floyd a couple years back. We've seen with Von Miller the success he had, and he was already a great player to begin with, but he has the ability to, his presence alone can elevate guys. And you look at Reddick, 10 sacks in each of the last 4 seasons, 67 pressures in 2023. That alone would be a massive upgrade. No slight to Michael Hoechst, but he was miscast, right? And by the way, I love this too. We'll talk about Michael Hoechst. I love this thing about Michael Hoechst, how you got Rams fans and people out there screaming as if they don't already know that he's probably playing out of position. That's just a reflect, right? Oh, thanks for telling me that. Rams super fan 5852 on X. Let me just go study the film and we'll make the changes. No, that's more of a reflection of the lack of talent that was in that building and in that locker room, that they just had to make do with what they had. But if you add a Reddick, who is already upgrade and a veteran, that to me screams win now too.
Well, the Rams have proven that, if you're just kind of speaking in generalities, they are far more intrigued by the proven NFL player, right? Think Jalen Ramsey, even think a guy like a Dante Fowler and some other guys like this that are, hey, look, maybe they're a really good player like Ramsey, or maybe a little bit more of a project like Fowler, but we kind of know what they are in the NFL, and maybe we can get a little bit more or less. I certainly think that Reddick would fall into that category, as opposed to let's try to get a guy that hasn't really done much in this league, or a draft pick, which is always a crapshoot to a certain point. So it does make a whole lot of sense. It kind of falls into what they have done along the way. My only reservation is, if they really like that, why haven't they done it yet? And that gives me a little bit of a second guess.
I agree. I think there could be some things in play, maybe restructuring things with some of the current players to see if some of these other guys are available that might want to consider signing with the Rams, or for Reddick's sake, he's going to be looking for a new deal too. You just brought back a lot of these players on 2-3 year deals, and he's somebody you could sign for a 2 or 3 year deal potentially, and he turns 30 this season. So from an age standpoint, it would match up. So I think there's a little bit of that in play. There's also one of the more polarizing players as far as how good people think he actually is, that's available, that the Rams could sign. And we're going to talk about him next here on Locked On Rams.
Today's podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp, right? So time, we all wish we had a little bit more of it, right? If I only had a little more time, I would blank, right? Well, how would you fill in the blank? What would you do with that extra time? Do you exercise a little more? Do you catch up on your sleep? Do you decide you want to read? Do you decide you want to, show up for a friend occasionally? Well, therapy is one of those things that can help you find out what matters most to you, so you can do more of it, right? So if you've been thinking about starting therapy, and this is a great opportunity to do it, why not give BetterHelp a try? It's entirely online. It's designed to be convenient. It's designed to be flexible. Of course, it's designed to be suited to your schedule. All you have to do is fill out a brief questionnaire, and you will get matched with a licensed therapist. And then once you're matched with that therapist, if for whatever reason you don't quite click with that person, you can switch at any time for no additional charge. So why not learn to make time for what makes you happy with BetterHelp? Visit betterhelp.com/lockedon today to get 10% off of your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon.
And welcome back to Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday, free and available wherever you get your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Also, a special shout out to those everyday listeners out there watching and listening to every single episode. I want to send a special shout out to help me to get to 12,000 subscribers. Let's try to get to 100,000 by the draft. Got to dream big, so definitely hit that subscribe button and also join that Everyday Listeners Club. Membership is free. You won't miss a thing about your Los Angeles Rams. You can watch me turn into an Oompa Loompa on this show, so definitely good stuff on the camera there. But Travis, here in our second segment here, we're going to continue to kind of look at these options, and a big sexy name out there is Chase Young. Okay, yeah. Chase Young, of course, traded to the 49ers, and we can talk about his PFF numbers, some of the top 20 in pressure rate and things like that, but some people have issues with kind of his motor and the effort level and just kind of the perception. Sometimes it looks like he's taking plays off. That would not bode well. That would not sit well for him in an offense, in a defense that's Aaron Donald. But for his sake, if I'm Chase Young, if I'm going to sign a $10 to $12 million prove-it deal, I want to get 15 sacks playing alongside Aaron Donald, go get signed a big bag. I think it makes a lot of sense for him at the very least. I don't know if the Rams are interested, but I think Chase Young should be very interested in signing with the Rams.
I like how you put that, because let's go back to last time this year, right? Or last year at this time, I should say, when there was, a lot of thought that the Rams were not going to be a very good team. And one of the concerns about that was, how's Aaron Donald going to deal with that? How is Aaron Donald going to deal with a team that may not be up to the standard that he's become accustomed to? And Donald told the management with the coaching staff and everybody involved that, look, just find guys that care, and that's all. And I'm good, man. Just find guys that give a damn, and we'll be okay. He has that ability to make guys care. So if the concern with Young is that maybe his motor isn't always cranked up to 10,000 RPM, that maybe he takes some plays off, go ahead and try that in front of 99 and see how that goes. See what the response is in front of that. And I know Chase Young is a big, strong, powerful, proud guy and all this stuff. Aaron Donald's a different dude. If Aaron Donald's giving you a side eye and saying that's not how we do things around here, I think you're probably going to start doing things the way that he wants them done. So I do think that the being in the general neighborhood of Donald will improve anybody's motor, because you really have no choice. And to your point, G-Mac, if you said to me, you got a chance to go play with one of the best who have ever done it, and everybody that lines up across from him or on the line with him, their production goes up by 10 or 15% just because they're so preoccupied with him, and you can get paid on that extra 10 or 15%. Where's paperwork? Bring it over here. I don't want to do it. And, I like guys on one-year deals. I like guys on prove-it deals, because all of those questions about want and attitude and all that stuff, they tend to go out the window. And I don't know if you want to sign a guy like that to a long-term deal. That's a far different conversation. But if it's hey, come in here and get us across the finish line, and not that Von Miller had motor issues. I don't think he did. But that was one of those, hey, come in here, let's get one together, and then you can go get paid somewhere else, maybe here, maybe not. But let's go do this right now. He might fall into that category.
Exactly. And that's why I find it so intriguing is, he's definitely someone who has his flaws. I mean, in just the motor, but how about just being on the field? I mean, he's played in 43 career games. I mean, last season, he matched a career high with 7.5 sacks. I mean, this is someone who should absolutely be in double-digit sacks. I will say, if you watch the Super Bowl, had that tackle for a loss, had that sack. I mean, he looked like he could bring it in the Super Bowl. So I think if you just bring on every single play and stay healthy, there's no reason at that price why he couldn't help this team. And I think, too, it's just a matter of, okay, if the organization were to sign him, that would let me know that they had a lot of communication. And there's no way the Rams would ink a deal with him unless they like what they heard from his end and his representation about that opportunity. So if it does happen, I'll feel good about it, because I think that this organization would have just covered their bases from that standpoint.
I do too. They're pretty good at doing their due diligence. Nobody bats 1,000. What up, Stetson Bennett? But it's
wow.
Yeah, I mean, look, you're gonna get one wrong every once in a
Stetson
while.
Bennett catching strays here on Locked On.
But I think you bring up a really good point about his availability, and that is simply there is something about guys that play a lot. There's unlucky, and then there's just guys that are always kind of dealing with something. And unlucky, I'll take a chance on that because that stuff tends to even itself out. But when you're constantly in and out of the lineup, when you're not playing a lot of games over a series of years, that does make me kind of think twice about doing something like that. So like you said, if you can get a meeting and you can have a conversation and get talked into feeling good about all those intangible things, all those unmeasurables, so to speak, then sure, let's try it. But that's one of those, it's got to be on your terms, not necessarily the players.
Honestly, the more I think about it and the more I kind of look at it, the more I kind of like the idea of Chase Young. I'm not going to lie, because here's the thing. So he played 15 games in 2020, had 44 tackles, 7.5 sacks, 4 forced fumbles, right? He looked like he was going to be on his way to being a perennial Pro Bowl, right? He looked like he lived up to the hype and he was going to be that dude. And then it was the injuries. He played just 12 games of the next 2 seasons. And then last season was his first full season back after suffering that ACL injury in 2021. So sometimes it's the season after the return season that you can start to look and feel like that guy. So on a 1-year deal, I mean, he's 25 years old, kind of like that upside, especially if he's a guy that's not going to be disgruntled about playing without an extension. Whereas a Haason Reddick, as Josh Sweat, some of these other guys, you're going to have to commit to them for 2 or 3 seasons. And I don't think their ceiling and their upside is as high.
Put him in a room with Aaron Donald and see what comes out. See what he thinks about it, right? And let Sean McVay and Les Snead have their turn, and they decide that he's about it, then give it a shot. But if they come out going, let's keep looking, then you should probably keep looking.
I love that, by the way. I like the idea of just having like Aaron Donald being a part of any of these conversations and not even saying anything. Just have like a dark room and him in there, and he just nods yes or no to the player, and that's it.
Here's what we know. We know Aaron Donald loves football. We know Aaron Donald takes care of himself. We know what Aaron Donald does to get ready to go into the season every single year. And I watched Aaron Donald every snap since he's come back to Los Angeles. There have been virtually 0 times where I'm like, is that dude into this or not? Never, right? I think guys like that can smell it on other guys. Guys like that know it when they see it. And more to the point, they know it when they don't see it. And I'm not saying that he conducts an interview, but why don't they go work out together one day and get a report like, hey, what do you think about that? If he came back and went, yeah, he's cool, then guess what? He's probably cool. If he comes back with something other than that, I don't know. I might keep looking.
Yeah, give me the 80 stamp of approval for sure. Yep. And that definitely would mean a lot to me. But coming up in our final segment real quick, we're going to talk about some players that you could see back with the Rams next season. That's coming up next here on Locked On Rams.
You know what you shouldn't have to do? You shouldn't have to worry about buying tickets to the next event that you want to go to, right? You shouldn't have to worry about, well, am I going to get them from here? Am I going to get them from there? Do I buy them now? Do I wait till the last minute? You don't have to do any of that. Gametime. Gametime is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. And unbelievable last-minute deals, all in prices, of course, views from your seats, and their best price guarantee. Gametime, they're taking all the guesswork out of buying tickets. In fact, Gametime is the only ticketing service app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. You can see the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what you're getting. You can buy your tickets in seconds with just a couple of taps. Game Deal has tickets on sale right up to the start of the event, even an hour after it starts. It is the place to find your last-minute deals. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create that account, redeem the code LOCKEDON, LOCKEDON, for $20 off. Download that Gametime app today. Last-minute deals, last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
And welcome back to Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday. Free and available wherever you get your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So a quick update on Alaric Jackson. The Rams, it ended up being a second-round tender is what they placed on him. So he was a restricted free agent. Now, the tender, it doesn't guarantee he's going to be back with the Rams, but it definitely increases the chances by a lot. He can now negotiate with other teams. You can field some offers, but the Rams can match that. And if they don't match an offer and Jackson does sign with another team, the Rams will get a second-round pick as compensation. If no other team signs him, the Rams will have him back at $4.89 million for the 2024 season, and he'll be an unrestricted free agent in 2025. Look, as a depth piece, as someone who can be a competent left tackle, that's an absolute bargain.
It's a steal. I mean, it is a flat-out steal. And if he does get a better deal somewhere else, good for him. And good for the Rams, right? So because I think everybody comes out in that situation. And, I think I might even go a step further, D-Mac, than you will. And I think he's more than a depth piece. I think he was a left tackle on a team with an elite quarterback that did a good job. Look, is he the second coming of Anthony Munoz? No. Is he Jonathan Ogden? No. But what he is a guy that can play that position in the NFL on a good team, and you're not worried about the quarterback getting murdered because he's going to blow an assignment, and that's really saying something. I think this is one of those times where they've developed a guy, and now they're going to get to reap the rewards one way or the other. Whether that's the player becoming a very useful starting left tackle, which is not easy to find in this league, and much less one at a price like you were talking about right there. That's extraordinary. And if, in fact, he does go somewhere else, there's real compensation. A second-round draft pick is not nothing in the NFL. You're going to find good players in the second round. The Rams have set themselves up for a great deal of success. And if he comes back, I'm great. That works for me.
Yeah, he's solid. There's no doubt about it. He's solid. Jordan Rodriguez was reporting on a couple of days ago that the Rams were kind of in between whether they do the second or the original round tender, and that just tells you everything you need to know about the Rams going with the higher option because they wanted to bring him back. And then I do think, though, left tackle, you could see, could be a draft situation. You got Tyron Smith out there. Yeah, look, the thing is, they want to continue to bolster this offensive line. They went out there and you got Jonah Jackson. So they're definitely showing you that they're willing to invest in that line. Is Alaric Jackson kind of the weaker spot now, kind of amongst the five?
Yes.
I'd probably say yes, but still, it's an important position, and he can do it at a competent level, and that's saying something.
I think it's saying a lot, and I think it gives them some optionality. I think it also speaks to the fact that Matthew Stafford must be comfortable with it. You know what I mean? Because I guarantee you this is something that is discussed with guys like Stafford. Hey, look, are you good with this? Yeah, I'm good with this. Are you good with this? I don't know, man. What else is out there that kind of gives you the answer right there? Look, keep in mind, the Rams have a first-round draft pick, and if there's something that they see that they think they might be able to get their hands on, that they think it can find a left tackle of the future, then maybe they jump on that. There are options, right? They can move up. Maybe somebody slides. Maybe there's somebody that's going to be available there that they've been able to identify in the way that they've identified the Cooper Kupps and Puka Nakuas of the world. Like, look, if we see something in this guy that nobody's on, who knows what it may be. But again, this is the benefit of having a front office and a coaching staff that has been able to find players in a variety of different ways that they've got some optionality right here. And I really don't think that there's a bad result, even with the variety of options that are out there.
No, I agree 100%. I do think long-term, you're going to find that franchise left tackle. Guys like Olu Fashanu, they can trade up or he drops that level. Maybe. Have you seen his hand size, by the way? It's like his hand size like 8 something. It must have been like, I don't know. I don't know, man. That's some like SNL, Kristen Wiig, tiny hands. I don't know what's going on there, but I'm telling you, man, like they got to remeasure. There's no way a man has 8.8 size hands, but that definitely scares me a little bit. But you could go out there and get that. And then Michael Hoechst, restricted free agent tender. Will they keep him? Possibly. It would cost the Rams just under $3 million to keep him for the season. He's most likely going to be back. He's going to return to the Rams for the 2024 season, most likely.
Yeah, look, we've covered Michael Hoechst a lot on this podcast, and he's a hard worker, and he's doing the best he can, but they got to put him back where he belongs. Like you were saying earlier, that I think everybody's fully aware that where they tried to play him last year, he gave it a puncher's chance, but I don't need him running in open space with guys. That's just not what it is. So if they do bring him back, they need to find a way to play him more where they brought him in to begin with, and not on the outside and in the edge. That just was not a great look.
Not ideal, like I said. That's just really a signal with a flashing neon light saying, okay, we need more depth at that position. So I think it's more to that. I mean, hey, any guy go out there and give you 1,000 snaps, right? I mean, you got to give him credit for it. I mean, obviously, he's playing out of position. He's kind of doing his best. But, hey, I think the motor's there, the effort's there. I just think that he needs to be used correctly, situationally. I mean, how they kind of use the Morgan Fox kind of situational rusher, DT, DN.
Yeah, this was never he's not trying. He's doing everything he can, but you're asking him to do something that he's probably not capable of doing, and he's game, but that just no. Put it back inside and go
it's like that meme. It's like the polar bear in Arlington, Texas meme. It's like, what's a polar bear doing in Arlington, Texas? He's that polar bear in Arlington, Texas. Like, he doesn't belong there, but doesn't mean, I mean, polar bears are great, just not in Arlington, Texas. It makes sense. So yeah, no, I agree with you, but we're gonna continue to break down the edge rusher spot. We'll talk about guys that can draft on tomorrow's show. Who else will they pick up? Should they go for another cornerback? Lots to talk about this week. Lots happening for your Los Angeles Rams. That's going to do for this episode. My name is Doug McCain. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. And of course, you can follow the People's Champ, Mr. Travis Rogers, at Travis Rogers. Until next time, whose house? It's Locked On Rams House.